Welcome to another episode of the Pennock Knockdown, a podcast where we unpack key strategies and tactics for digital marketing leaders. Today, I'm joined by Alisha Gallagher. She's the co-founder and chief brand officer at Mob Beauty. Alisha, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Nikki, and thank you so much for having me.
So great to have you. So I've know quite a bit about Mob actually, but just going back to your mission and what you guys stand for. Pulled from your website. So Mob's mission is to do makeup better. You are next level clean, vegan sustainable, cruelty-free, gluten-free, and pro quality. That is a lot going on. And I've personally used Mob's products. You guys are really the real thing. Really, really great product. It's hard for me to go for anything else now that I've got some of you in my makeup kit.
Love that.
Yeah. So Alisha, tell us a little bit about what you were doing previous to co-founding Mob.
So I've been in the cosmetic industry my entire career, and I've kind of been on all sides of it and parts of it, which I think really helped me when I go to start my own brand. I started out as an artist, had the good fortune of working alongside Laura Mercier herself for quite a number of years. So really had a chance to kind of cut my teeth and learn from the very best. And it was at that point that I really got it just infected, if you will, with the love of truly great product. You know, when you start by working alongside an artist, nobody has higher standards than an artist. So I'm really learning textures and performance and what works was at the very beginning of my career. And then I went into I went to the dark side. I went into the business side of things, mostly running sales, all the way up to running global sales promotion, education, marketing. But I always stayed in the mix of product and product development as well. I always found myself at scrappy startups, whether it was a very young company or going to a company that had been recently acquired with a lot of changes going on. So I've always kind of had this entrepreneurial spirit as well. And it was actually at one of my former companies that I met my co-founding partner, Vic Casali. And I was introduced to the idea of truly conscious beauty. So I had been working so closely with an artist, and then I get to work with a chemist and going inside the lab. And, it was at that moment that sort of my philosophy about beauty changed a lot because my eyes were opened to really the ingredients at an ingredient level and how that impacts our earth, our planet, our animals, our own health. And I've been on a mission ever since in terms of the brands that I work with, what I'm doing at Mob, etc.
Oh, that's incredible. You've been around for a few years. How long did it take to formulate prior to your official launch?
When we started working on Mob in 2019, kind of late 2019. And then we really got going in 2020. And it was a really exciting time to be working on launching a makeup brand. So, we certainly had some turbulence. We launched in 2021. So I would say we were working on the brand, pretty much at sort of a full capacity for about a year before we launched. And that included literally making our product all the way to getting, our product go to market ready and just our strategy for launch. And then, of course, we paused game a minute before launching because of the pandemic. And what a time to launch makeup when everybody's at home wearing a mask and not wearing any makeup. But, you just have to get out there in the market and get going. And so we did.
Yeah. Love it. Well, so glad you did, because I think, to your best customers, and I like to consider myself one of those. I've gifted your product multiple times. There's no going back once you start doing Mob. So really, really awesome product out there.
Thank you, Nikki.
Yeah, absolutely. So speaking of the industry and beauty overall, has there been a launch of a product recently or an ingredient list that you're really excited about now or maybe in the future, like product development?
There's a lot of things I'm excited about in beauty, and I have a lot of optimism about where we're going. One of the things that I would talk about is just the changes that we're seeing in just packaging and sustainability. We co-founded the Pack Collective with Credo beauty, because part of our mission, obviously, when we say do beauty better, we don't just mean like ingredients and formula. We mean everything. We mean all the way to the packaging. And we have literally our industry has a waste crisis in terms of the amount of packaging that hits landfills every year. So in an effort to do something about that, we co-founded the Pack Collective, which is industry-wide. And since founding this collective, we have brought in so many brands. We now have collection bins at Sephora, Ulta. You're seeing a real awareness in the greater community, from the clients to retailers to brands, who really understand more and more what's happening. This kind of like wishful blue bin that sits in your house that you think all your beauty packaging is going in there and then ending up like recycled. And people are understanding that's not the case. So I think people are being a lot more mindful of how they buy beauty and what they do with their beauty packaging end of life. So that's something I'm excited about, just generally excited about, as we see the groundswell of more people making positive changes and participating in, what happens end of life. In terms of formulas and ingredients, kind of the same thing. What I'm really excited about at Mob is that we are constantly looking to ensure that as we take out ingredients like microplastics from our formula, and you think like, oh, are there microplastics in makeup? A lot, Nikki. So I'm not here to fearmonger or scare, but a lot. Even in clean beauty, you see ingredients like acrylates and methacrylates, and these are they're plastics. Even silicone is, kind of a type of liquid plastic, if you will. It's maybe a little heavy-handed, but it doesn't biodegrade like more natural ingredients. So it lasts on the earth a long time. So what I'm excited about is that at Mob, we make our own makeup, we source our own ingredients, and we've been able to find incredibly high performance substitutes for things that are either not ideal for your health or not ideal for the health of our planet, without the customer having to compromise at all. So in place of silicones, which are actually kind of inexpensive materials, we're using really rich, nourishing plant ingredients that are better for you anyway, but also better for the planet. So I guess just generally, I would zoom out and say I'm just excited about the progress that we're making at Mob, and we're also seeing other brands make in terms of choosing better ingredients, making better packaging decisions, and just coming together on these important things.
Yeah, the pact that you co-launched or co-founded. Tell us more a little bit about that. Like, I've got a product here that is basically gone. How do I, as a consumer, leverage what you brought to market?
Yes. So first of all, the great news is, and thank you for asking, Nikki. See how everyone is just thinking now when they empty a beauty product. So first of all, you can go to packcollective.org. And there's just a tremendous amount of resources and information that anyone can check out about what to do with your beauty empties. But one of the most important things is that there are just some key things to remember. If it's plastic that's smaller than like a yogurt cup, like smaller than your fist, and think about that. Every lipstick tube, every mascara tube, most compacts can't be recycled in a blue bin. First of all, because of its size, but also because it's mixed materials. There's just so many different reasons. So those should always be recycled with the Pack Collective. Things like colored glass should be recycled, squeezy tubes. So really, so much of your beauty is really hard or impossible to recycle in your blue bin. So first is always clean it out. So dirty empties don't get recycled even with packed. It makes it a lot harder. So clean out your empties. Take them to your nearest packed bin, which Ulta, Sephora, Credo Beauty, and also there are mail-back programs. So if you're not near a collection bin, you can always research that and even mail back your empties. But thank you for asking.
Yeah, very cool. Exciting stuff. I think that whole circular economy and circular use is really exciting to see.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Well, on this show, we like to kind of get into marketing and growth tactics that have worked and have not worked. So I'd love to start with maybe a marketing strategy that didn't work as you expected.
Yes. So, Nikki, one of the things I would say is that having being an industry vet, aging myself, but having been around for a long time, and also being at an indie brand that is self-funded and scrappy. We have to be so measured and disciplined about everything we take a swing at, not only for our own bandwidth and time. We just don't have a lot of time to pull as many levers, but certainly as it relates to, just what we invest in financially. So, we take a really measured and disciplined approach to everything that we consider. And I think in some ways, having limited resources really forces you to be mindful and lean. It really kind of makes you think, what's really going to move the needle here, and being cautious about it. So I can't honestly say at Mob I can point to something that there's learnings every day. Mm-hmm. I mean, of like, wow, should have done that a little bit differently, or this or that. But there hasn't been any tremendous pivots, I would say, that I can speak of things that I just would absolutely like go back and do it a different way. But that's just, again, because we have to from the outset take such a cautious approach.
Yeah, that makes sense. I like that. I mean, more businesses should probably do that. So love that answer. Let's switch gears and talk about maybe an initiative or program that really helped with growth, maybe even more so than you expected.
Mm-hmm. Well, so I would say that, one of the things that's really unique about Mob is that we create our own products. I mean, we do all of our own R&D. We have our own labs. So we create our own formulas, our own shades. We do it ourselves. We don't go through third-party manufacturers. And so what that enables us to do is many things, speed to market being one of them. But another one is bringing our community in to really experience the magic of making makeup. And it's really given us, a unique opportunity to have a tremendous amount of intimacy with our community. And, one of our core values, I mean, if we're out there to do beauty better, we want people to know what we're doing. We strive for transparency in everything that we do. So we're not just behind the scenes doing things. We want people to come with us. It's a very participatory culture. And so not only have we just spent really so much of our efforts in organic community building and really being so close to our community, listening to them, working with them, but, literally having them in the lab. And I think it's really enabled people to learn and be hands-on, but it's also enabled us to actually create product and launch collabs with our community, which has been really incredible. So from more, community and micro creators, if you will, all the way to some bigger creators, we've had the wonderful good fortune of being able to help our community bring their dream products to life and launch them commercially. And it's just really been exciting because it's enabled us to reach, so many different factions of our community. It's allowed us to tell our story. It's allowed us to really show. It's like we're like showing, not telling. It's like, just come in here and do it with us. And see the difference that we're making and see how we're formulating differently or approaching beauty in a different way. And I think not only has it been, commercially successful, but I think it's really built an incredible amount of trust with our community and just an intimacy and a personalization with our community. Because when for those of you, who can't come in, it's like we say, join us on social. So whether we're just blasting it out behind the scenes and bringing people with us that way, or whether people have an opportunity to actually be where we are, we pop up labs, people come in. So that's been it's become almost like a cornerstone of what we do at Mob, are just bringing the lab to our community and making makeup together and, allowing the community a hands-on and actually, but we're not just listening to what people are requesting on social or in a DM. We're actually saying, well, come in and let's just do it. And it's really been fun for us, and I think really fun for the community. So I think that's one example of something that we have that's pretty much always on that has been really successful.
When you and Vic were starting to formulate in 2019, was the assumption that you would be doing this much behind the scenes and this many collabs?
I mean, I think that the business always informs you as you get going, but yes, I mean, we always intended to have, to invite people into our lab. We just couldn't for the first year and a half or so. So again, that was another not on our bingo card. So, once we really felt like the restrictions lifting and we felt was not only safe, but comfortably safe to invite people in, we started doing so. And it was everything we could have imagined and more, just in terms of us, really being able to have a real non-performative community brand. I mean, and I say that respectfully, but I mean, we are doing it. I mean, we're literally with our community all the time, truly making product and listening to them and creating for them and with them.
That's really, really cool. Great. I think the next question I'd love to get into is around really the type of partners you bring in, whether it's an agency, a vendor, a consultant. What types of expertise or details are you looking for? I know as the years have evolved and technology has changed, some of what brands need from outside help has shifted as well. Are you kind of keeping your eye on different lanes of excellence when you're looking for third parties at this point?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, first of all, it's so important for anybody that we bring in to feel in-house, so to speak. Somebody that feels like they're truly on our team and they're in it with us, because again, we are such a lean team that is so important. But, really data-driven is important for us. Again, it goes back once more to us being so measured about what we're doing and being so disciplined about what we're doing that obviously anybody that invests wants to see, ROAS and ROI and impact. But that's especially important to us as we really need to justify and see return on every dollar that we're investing. So certainly having partners that really are so, in data-driven and providing us with the information that we need to continue to make the right decisions and to justify, obviously, what we're doing and the path that we're on.
Yep. Are there any parts of marketing that you're like, they absolutely need to be done in-house? There's no way someone from the outside can help with?
I mean, I guess there's always a way. I will tell you that when we first started the brand, I was using agencies for our social media efforts as it relates to our content and our posting and our community engagement. And for us, that was just not hitting the mark. And it had nothing to do with, our partner necessarily. I think that they were doing a great job. But I think, especially for a brand like ours that strives so hard to be so in it with our consumer and have such, conversational participatory with our community, well, we needed to, right? So hiring that out was it just did not feel nearly as personal or as deep as we needed it to be. So I think for me, I would say, obviously, our social media efforts in terms of our content, our posting, our engagement with our community and doing that in-house, I think is extremely important. It's also, I think, hard probably for any brand, but certainly for a brand like Mob that is such a purpose-driven brand and mission-based brand that is nothing is straightforward. The way we do packaging, the way we do product, the way we do ingredients. So for somebody else to come in and really be our brand voice from copy to, as I said, communicating with our community, it's hard to find resources that understand beauty like we do to be able to speak on our behalf and just have our tone of voice. We feel like our community is our family and we talk to them like our family. So those are some of the things that I would say. I have learned, actually, there's a learning. And then I tried to outsource social media and I was like, oh, I don't think so. So I think those are things that are, at least at Mob, we think having it be such a part of us and our in-house is very important.
Yeah, I didn't mean to lead too much there with the question, but I echo what you say. I think when we're talking to early stage brands and listening to how they're stacking up marketing, it's a little concerning when they're outsourcing social. And I get it because they probably don't have the expertise. But I think working with a great designer and a great videographer, and then maybe scheduling and captioning on your own as a brand is maybe a smarter way to do it than working with a social agency. It's hard, though. It's hard to do everything, especially with limited resources and time.
It really is, Nikki. I think it's just about, I think every brand has to find what works. But certainly for us, that was a big one.
Love it. Well, we're getting towards the end. So my final question is always a fun one to ask. And you can answer this about, your 20-something self starting in the industry, or you as a slightly older person doing the mob launch. But really, what advice would you give yourself if you were starting all over again in the business?
Trust your instincts 1000%. I think it's so easy as an entrepreneur, but even just generally, whether you have your own brand or you're just trying to lead a cross-functional team or be a great member of a team, to kind of second guess yourself. And certainly in the entrepreneurial world, it's also just very easy to get to overthink and to constantly, second guess. It's very challenging, especially right now. So I just think always, anytime I've really trusted my gut or my instincts, even if I haven't listened to them, I always look back going, oh, I was right. Maybe I should have gone that way instead of this way a little bit. But I know you hear it said so much, but my gosh, is it just so true? Just really get quiet and listen. And the other thing I would say is, again, I think it goes back to that discipline. I've said before that one of the things that helped me, it helped Vic and me a lot in starting a brand, is that between the two of us, we've done just about everything in the industry. So we've stepped in every pothole before. We've made the mistakes. We've gotten back up. We kind of knew going in a lot of things. So that really helps. But it also, in some ways, Nikki, I think can be challenging because all the levers that can be pulled when you were at that last brand that was doing what if at any given moment, 20 times, 30 times what you're doing. So with a lot more resources and opportunities. So you have to just, I think, be just from the outset, don't think that you have to pull every lever, and don't think that it all happens in a moment. You cannot microwave it. You can't microwave it. You have to, you got to take the stairs, not the elevator. You got to build a business. So trust your instincts, know it's going to take time, and just be really disciplined and be, pick a lane or two and really go there. Find what's right for your brand and dig in.
Oh, really good words of wisdom there. So thank you so much. Alisha, this has been a lot of fun. If people want to learn more about Mob, learn more about you, where can they go?
Well, we are at themobbeauty.com, on Mob Beauty on Instagram and TikTok. And we are very participatory with our community there. We check every DM. We read every comment. So that's always a great place to chat with us. And then obviously on our site, mobbeauty.com.
All right. Awesome. Well, a pleasure having you today, Alisha. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, Nikki. Thank you so much again for having me. It was so lovely chatting.
Thank you. You as well.